Hi everyone. Today's video is about inspiration. You're the only one for me. You're my inspiration. That's what I read in the comments on some of these videos. It's very nice to read that I inspire you. So I thought that I would talk about the things in my life that inspire me. And there are lots of things. So I'm going to restrict this to three main things. The first big source of inspiration for me comes from other people. People that are often doing things, making things that are incredible to me. And in my life, when I think of like the mentors that I have found, especially in the arts, people like Guy Wolf and Marcelo Del Doce, or my friend Deborah, who runs Upper Canada Weaving. These are people that have really worked hard to develop a skill that is so impressive. So my pottery mentor, Guy Wolf, has been making pots since he was a teenager, for over 50 years. And when I saw his flower pots in a Martha Stewart magazine, I was just like, I can't believe there's someone making pots like this, and I would like to make pots like this. So I sought him out and begged him to let me come and watch him. So people that can do things with their hands have been such an inspiration for me over the years, because when I see their work, I often actually can't believe that human hands were able to produce that. So the next kind of level for me is actually being with them and watching it happen. Because I can't actually believe that it's possible, when I'm in the room with them and when I'm watching them do it, it's a validation that yes, it is possible. And that process of witnessing them creating their craft or their work or their art is the next aspect of inspiration that comes from people. So I think my advice to give people that are watching these videos, if there's something out there that you would like to learn, woodworking, painting, pottery, whatever, gardening, find the person that's doing that thing at a level that really impresses you, and then find the ones that are actually teaching and learn from them. Because I think it is wonderful to be self-taught, and it's wonderful to read books and to learn that way, but this element of being side by side with another actual person it's invaluable. There's so much that can come from in-person teaching. So people, that's kind of like the big source of inspiration for me. The next source of inspiration for me that has been in my life since I was a little kid, and I don't know where it comes from, is the past. Connecting to something from a long time ago has always intrigued me. I remember when I was a really small kid, like maybe 3 or 4, we as a family would go to this flea market in the next town over. We lived in Scarborough, Ontario, and in Pickering there was a flea market. I don't even know if it's there anymore, but the Pickering flea market was something that took place on Sundays, just on Sundays, and it was in a big warehouse. It was all kind of discounted things, and we would go as a family. My parents, my sister, and I, before my younger sister was born, so it was just the 2 kids, and my parents. And in that flea market, there was an antique section. And I remember just kind of bothering my parents to take me over to look at the old stuff. And my mom and my sister really had no interest in looking at old things. So my dad kind of relented and took me over. And I remember walking through the Pickering antique flea market and just feeling like this is where I belong. I the one thing that sticks out in my head that I saw and I wanted was a cast iron. Do I have one in here? I don't have the version that I don't have the version that I do. Oh, I do have the version. Yeah, it's right up here. Oh, here we go. Okay, so this is not the one from the Pickering flea market, but I remember seeing an iron like this and just being drawn to it. And I think I was 3 or 4, and that has never left me. This feeling of seeing these old things, but feeling a connection to not just this thing, but the time that it came from. And as a little kid, I don't think I manifested it in any way. I was just very drawn to it. But as I grew up and as I started getting older, I started actually using that feeling of being drawn to the past to actually inspire myself. In school, like we had a pioneer unit when I was in 3rd grade, and I was just obsessed, and I poured myself into that. In 5th grade, we learned about ancient Egypt, and then that became a complete infatuation. I started something called an Egypt club with my cousins, where we all dressed up in ancient Egyptian costume and performed ceremonies, and I made little statues, and it was just immersing myself in that world. But the past, things from a long time ago have always intrigued me. And I think now as an adult, if I look back to the validity in that, I think that the thing that has really served as a source of inspiration is something that has withstood the test of time. So something that was made a long time ago, but that is still very beautiful. And over the years, when I think about the arts that I've pursued, like pottery or watercolor painting, I really am drawn to old versions of art or classical versions of art. And I'm not talking just about Western art. The culture that I come from, my parents are Sri Lankan, South Indian culture has always just been something that I feel in my very core. When we go to the temple and when we sit cross-legged on the ground and the priests start chanting in Sanskrit, I just feel this thing right in my core that this is a part of me. And not only is this a part of me, but this is so old. And the fact that it's ancient, the fact that it goes back thousands of years, it inspires me. It inspires me that I am alive now in this modern world, but I'm partaking or connecting to something that is really, really old. My sisters pursued classical Indian dancing for a while, Bharatanatyam. And when I would go and I would watch the practice, I would just sit and watch while they had their lessons. It was only my older sister, while she had her lesson. But that was also something that I just connected to, even though I wasn't participating in it. So the past is something that I'm constantly pulling from and using in my everyday life. I love old things. My apartment is full of vintage or antique useful household things, and for me, I often prefer to buy an old version of something if I can, rather than a new one. And it's not just because very often the older version is better quality, but I love the fact that these things have a story. I'm here in the barn, in my friend's barn in Rhode Island, and I'm surrounded by old things. Part of the furnishings in this barn came from the property, things that Eve had sitting around here. But over the last few years, I've acquired little bits and pieces and brought them in here. This was somewhere on the property, and I just I've always loved a good cast iron. But the scale that I use for my clay, this right here, there are new versions of these scales, and there are digital scales, but this scale, it's a cast iron scale, and what we do is the weights go on one, so here's no weights, okay, and then if I want to weigh out 4 pounds of clay, I get the weight that's 4 pounds, and I put it on this side, and then I put the clay on here until it goes like this, and then I take off clay, or you aim for when it's just sort of balancing like this. And there's that moment when the clay is exactly 4 pounds where the scale's going like this, and it's a beautiful thing. So I think part of the thing that I'm drawn to from the past are often the beauty that was imbued in these useful things, but the fact that this has a history, the fact that this existed before I was here, the fact that other people used this thing, that appeals to me. When I lived at home with my parents and my sisters, like when I was 12, 13, 14, I started collecting antique silver, and I had a silver fork and a spoon and a knife in the cutlery drawer that I would use. And I remember distinctly one comment from my sister, and she was like, "Ew, that's gross, like who knows where that has been." And I found that so interesting because it made me stop and realize that's the reason why I liked it. That's the reason I was drawn to the silver fork, is exactly who knows where that fork has been. The fork has been around for 200 years. And when she said that, it made me think, yeah, like for 200 years, this fork has graced the tables of maybe manor houses and has maybe been sold to pay for something. It was solid silver. It is solid silver. I still have it. And the fact that this fork has passed through many different hands and many different lives, that's exactly why I loved it. So my sister saying that in a very disgusted way, it just showed me how different we were. And it also shone a light on not understanding where this fascination with the past came from, and why she and I were so different. So the past, that is another big source of inspiration for everything that I do, almost everything that I do. And the third thing that I will say is a source of inspiration for me is something that might be a little unexpected for you to hear, but I think it's very important for me to share this with you, because if there's one thing that I would love to inspire people to maybe try to do is what I do with this. The last source of inspiration for me is actually despair and sadness. I think about the most challenging times in my life and the most difficult things that I have gone through. And in those moments, sometimes it's so hard to see how that thing can be turned around to be made positive, or how you can learn from it. You don't want to learn from it. My sisters and I lost our mom a few years ago, and it was a tragic loss. I mean, she passed away well before she was supposed to pass away. But I think about the times in my life when I have thrown myself into something that doesn't make any sense, like playing the harp. I was thinking about my mom the other day while I was playing the harp, and I was remembering what happened when she got ill and when she passed away and how awful it was. And it was just this tiny moment while my fingers were on the harp where I realized, well, that's why I'm playing the harp. That's one of the reasons why I'm playing the harp. Because when something can get so bad and awful and horrible and sad, what options do we have? What else do we have? And for many people out there, there are other things that they have that they will turn to. But I will say, for me, the thing that I turn to in moments of despair, when I can begin to pull myself out of the grief or out of the darkness, is, well, if it can really be this bad, where there seems to be no point to this, go and do something beautiful. Play the harp. And it doesn't make any sense that at this point in your life, you're going to start learning this crazy instrument. Where are you going to get the money to pay for lessons? Well, figure it out. Because for me, that is an antidote to the despair in this world. There's so much out there that causes us anxiety and grief and sadness that we can't change. So what do? Well, for me, I think the thing that I can do is control my everyday life in a small way. And the hour that I can sit at the harp and play is an hour where I'm doing something constructive and something beautiful. And that is inspiration. The dark side, the sadness, serves as the means to turn it around and make something good. So those are my main sources of inspiration. I'm glad that something I'm doing serves as an inspiration for many of you out there. Thank you so much for watching these videos, and thanks for commenting. Goodbye.